My friend, a player who forced his own way out of Philadelphia, just opened his mouth for the very first time about the reunion with his old team, and what he said simply does not line up with reality. He swore, hand on heart, that there is no revenge whatsoever. He said it is nothing but love. He said he is totally fine, just polishing his craft. Except there is one uncomfortable detail in this story. The way this 4-season marriage ended had absolutely nothing to do with love. There was screaming on the sideline. There was frustration spilled out in the open on social media. There was a trade request. And there was an exit through the back door, in the middle of the biggest soap opera of the offseason. And now, just days away from facing the Eagles' defense face-to-face, he wants you to believe that everything is at peace. The truth is that this story has far more layers than his pretty little statement lets on, and almost nobody is having the courage to point that out. Everyone grabbed the quote, slapped it on a headline, and moved on, as if a loud divorce could turn into friendship overnight. If you are a die-hard Eagles fan, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel, because what is going to happen in the joint practices this month could expose exactly what this story is really made of. And you are going to want to understand all the behind the scenes before everybody else, because this is the only time Philadelphia and New England will cross paths this season, outside of a possible meeting in the Super Bowl. To understand why this statement sounds so strange, you need to remember how it all ended. Let us go back to January 11th, in the Eagles' loss to the San Francisco 49ers in the wild-card round, by 23-19. It was a frustrating game from start to finish for our main character. He finished with just 25 receiving yards, hauled in only 3 of the 7 passes thrown his way, and committed at least 3 ugly drops. And the moment that stuck was not a play, it was an image. The cameras caught this player and head coach Nick Sirianni screaming at each other on the sideline, face to face. Months later, on June 1st, the Eagles finally traded him to the New England Patriots. His name is A.J. Brown. On Monday, August 3rd, after a practice with the Patriots, Brown sat down with NFL Network to talk about his new life. And, of course, the inevitable question came up about the joint practices coming up against the Eagles. His answer was surgical, almost rehearsed. He said it is not a game, it is practice, and that he is just out there polishing his craft. He said he does not dwell on whether he catches a touchdown or whether someone knocks the ball away from him, because the only thing that speaks to him is the improvement of his own technique. And then came the sentence that set everything on fire. He said there is no revenge at all on his part, that they won a Super Bowl together, and that it is nothing but love. Nothing but love, my friend. Hold on to that sentence, because we are going to come back to it. Because here is the problem. If it was all love, why was the exit so ugly? Brown's 2025 season was the toughest since he arrived in Philadelphia. He finished with 1,003 receiving yards, his lowest number in an Eagles jersey, and 7 touchdowns, but with an average of just 12.9 yards per reception, the lowest of his career with the team. It was a season marked by cryptic, message-loaded posts on social media, by public frustration with his role inside the offense, and by drops that were nothing typical of a player of that caliber. A guy who had already been All-Pro 3 times in a row suddenly looked like an unhappy man, playing against his will. And the outcome of all that was him pushing the franchise away, asking to leave. That is not the portrait of a relationship that ends in love. That is the portrait of a relationship that ends in resentment. And that is why the rivalry right now is absolutely real, no matter how much he tries to soften it with sweet words. Think about the situation. Brown did not just go to any random other team. He went to the Patriots to reunite with Mike Vrabel, the same coach who led him for 3 seasons back in Tennessee at the very start of his career. In other words, he is back in a comfort zone, far away from Philadelphia, on the other side of the coin, in another conference, with goals directly opposed to his old teams. And the Eagles, to let him go, received in return a first-round pick in the 2028 draft and a 5th-round pick in 2027. The franchise literally traded one of the best receivers in the team's recent history for promises of the future. Now tell me, when these two sides meet on the field, on August 19th and 20th, do you really think it is going to be a tea party between old friends? Or is it going to be every rep, every contested catch, every physical play, loaded with everything that was left unresolved? And this is where it is worth remembering who the player is that the Eagles let go, so you understand the scale of that loss. When Brown arrived in Philadelphia, coming from the Titans, he exploded right away. In his first season, He delivered 1,496 yards and 11 touchdowns, and the Eagles reached the NFC Championship. The following year, All-Pro again, with 106 receptions, 1,456 yards, and 7 touchdowns. In his third year, another All-Pro, and the biggest trophy of them all. The Eagles were Super Bowl champions, and Brown even scored a touchdown in the title win. That was 4 seasons, 2 Pro Bowl selections, 3 All-Pro selections, and a ring. We are talking about one of the most physically dominant receivers who ever wore the green. This is not just any player tossing out just any sentence. This is a real star, with a real track record, saying everything is fine, when everything points to the fact that it was not. And there is one more detail that makes this reunion even spicier. Now, when Brown steps onto that field in August, he will no longer be on the same side as Jalen Hurts, the quarterback with whom he built absolutely all of this. He will be catching passes from a new commander, building chemistry from scratch, already in his early 30s. And on the other side, the Eagles bet big that they can survive without him. They handed the leading role in the offense to Devonta Smith and put their chips on younger and cheaper pieces to fill the void. In other words, these joint practices are not going to test only Brown's wounded pride. They are going to test, in practice and right before his eyes, whether the Eagles' bet to move forward without the biggest offensive star on the roster was really the right call. It is almost impossible to imagine a script more loaded with meaning and silent messages than this one. So, to be fair and transparent with you, there are some counterpoints that need to enter this conversation before you form your opinion. First, maybe Brown is being genuinely sincere. Professional players switch teams all the time, and many truly manage to turn the page without bitterness. The fact that he downplays the revenge could simply be maturity, not hypocrisy. Not everyone carries a grudge for the rest of their life. Second, that shouting match with Sirianni on the sideline, as shocking as the image was, is a common scene in the heat of a playoff game. Plenty of coaches and players scream at each other in the middle of the adrenaline and then hug it out in the locker room. A disagreement on the sideline does not always mean a definitive rupture. Third, Brown's statement could be pure mind games, saying it is nothing but love, and that he does not care about the outcome of the practices is, very often, the smartest way to take all the pressure off your own shoulders and toss that pressure over to the other side. If he dominates the practices, it was just craft. If he gets dominated, it was not a real game anyway. It is a perfect shield. And fourth, the joint practices do not decide anything at all in terms of the scoreboard. It is work, it is preparation, and neither of the two teams is going to expose its starters to injury risk in August over pride. The rivalry may be real on an emotional level, but in practice what is at stake there is reputation and trash talk, not a real victory. But at the end of the day, the truth is this: a player who left in the middle of a loud soap opera, after a frustrating season and a public confrontation with his own coach, now shows up saying it is nothing but love. And it is up to you to decide whether you believe that. Because when that whistle blows in the August practices, the words are going to fall away, and what is going to speak the loudest is what has always spoken the loudest in A.J. Brown's case: the game on the field itself. Now I really want to hear your opinion. Do you truly believe that Brown's statement, saying it is nothing but love and that there is no revenge at all, is sincere? Or is it just mind games from a guy who knows exactly what he is doing, trying to hide how much he still cares about this rivalry? And going further, did the Eagles make the right move by trading a star of that size for future draft picks? Or are they going to regret it the day Brown is on the other side, more motivated than ever, proving the franchise was wrong to let him go? Leave your opinion in the comments. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I will be back later to update you with the latest Eagles news.